Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 26 of the Setter Tales podcast. That's amazing, isn't it?
I can't believe that. We're having so much fun. It's just time's just flying by.
Well, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yeah, we've got an interesting guest tonight, and we'll get to that in a minute. Whether I think I mentioned to you, you remember a few episodes back, I said I needed to get my house painted before hunting season. Remember that?
Yes.
And you kept asking me every week. You kept
No, I was
asking.
going to get a drum roll and everything going.
We need hopefully we'll get when I mentioned that the project has been completed, we'll get one of those sound effects in there
Yeah.
from the engineer. But yesterday, the project is completed. There we go. I didn't make my deadline, but we did miss it by, I said hunting season, missed it by a week, but we caught some nice days here in the last couple of days, got some 70-degree weather, so that helped, or I wouldn't have made it, but we got it finished, so that's off the list.
And
And
the R and
now,
the R word's coming tomorrow for a couple days. So it's a good thing it's going to be dry and you got it done.
yeah, we're going to get a big rain tomorrow. That'll help with the sending conditions later on. The dogs could use that. And I just want to mention, because it does tie into with our guests, but tonight's podcast is sponsored by Kinetic Performance Dog Food. We built it for our dogs, but you will love it for yours. And we'll talk about that little motto, that little thing. There's a history behind that, and we'll get into that in a minute. But and we're kind of familiar with this gentleman. I've known John Howard for many years, and way back in the day when Kinetic Dog Food was first coming on the market, I got involved with these guys. They sponsored our video series, Setter Tales. For any of you that watched that, you're very familiar with that. They came on board and really got us to that next level. We didn't have any sponsor, and they stepped up and really got behind us, and it was a lot of fun because we traveled and went to a lot of events with John and his partner Dave, and so we had a great time, and still have a great relationship with those guys. And I think we're going to be doing another hunt here at the first part of December with those guys down at Highland. But I want to introduce John Howard. I'll bring John in now. There he is. Here's Johnny. I was
How's
gonna,
it going,
he
guys?
made me
Oh,
say,
you
well, he
missed
said I
it.
had
You
to say
missed
that.
it. You
Yeah, I missed
missed
it.
it. It's
Missed
okay.
it.
It's
Close
okay.
enough. Close enough. But yeah, so we were like talking about the early days, John, when we first kind of got involved with you, and the Setter Tales video thing was just kind of. I don't even know if we had them. We might have had a video or two. I don't know. Will would probably know, but we didn't know what we were doing exactly. We were trying to capture some upland hunting things. We didn't think we thought people would like it, but we found out how difficult it was to film dogs that are moving and people that are moving. And yeah, it was kind of a challenging thing, but we made some nice videos. And like a lot of other things, when COVID hit, a lot of the traveling and the stuff got suspended. And since that time, we've kind of veered off into the podcast that we're doing now. So, and hence the name, the Setter Tales podcast. But tying back into what we did with the Kinetic guys. But John, how's it going tonight then?
It's going great. I'm glad to be on here, guys. It looks like you guys are getting pretty comfy over there. Got your coffee, got your nice comfy
Hey,
chairs.
we're all about comfort, man.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is. We mentioned at the top of the show when I mentioned we built it for our dogs, but you'll love it for yours. You remember that was kind of the early on when I remember John saying, I want you to do the voiceover for this commercial we're doing. And I went, what the hell are you talking about? And no, we want you to do it. So I did. And that was pretty classic at the time. And so I thought it was only good that that's what we say at the top of our show now is the thing that created as what is known as the voice. And you and Dave always refer to me as the voice, and it's
There
for
he
that
is, the
little,
voice.
yeah, it's for that
Yeah.
little 3 seconds or half a second or
Yeah,
whatever.
thanks for that, by the way. He's leaned into it just fine.
Yeah.
The voice.
Yeah.
But
you have a face for radio, so
yeah,
it
that's
worked
true.
perfect.
That's very true. That's why
Yeah.
we went to podcasting instead of the video stuff that we did. But
I only kid.
no,
I
no,
only
no.
kid.
Well, it's true, truer than you thought. That's why I had the young boys on there trying to get that younger demographic going.
There
It
you
didn't
go.
seem like it was working for who wants to watch an old guy fall down in the field while he's chasing bird dogs. But
Yeah, you
anyway,
needed eye candy out
Hey.
there.
yeah. But it gets got back to what we're going to talk to John about tonight. Obviously, you guys and your dog food. I've been feeding it for, gosh, I can't remember now. Maybe when did you guys start the company?
Well, we started it 2011 is when we officially started the company, but we fed it and tested it for a couple years before we even started selling it.
That's
So
right. That's right.
you probably started, I'm guessing, around 2014 when we started selling it to the general public.
That sounds about right.
In actual finished bags. For the first couple of years, it was just out there in plain white bags with a little tag on it. But we
I,
want to make
I,
sure we got it right.
I remember a trade show that you guys went to, and you didn't even have product yet, so you were trying to get your name out there in front of the people, and I remember you telling me you had styrofoam peanuts filling the bags out, so they looked like they had something in them, but
Yeah,
you
yeah. That was when we first. That was our first show. We actually introduced it at Pheasant Fest in Milwaukee, and I think it
that's
was
right.
2014. And we had never actually put product in the new printed bags, so we had it in those white bags. We brought a little bit up because we were feeding it at the time, so we brought some up to put out on display the food. But yeah, the printed bags were just stuffed full of
Yeah.
those styrofoam peanuts, so they looked like they had something in them, but they didn't. So whatever it takes.
That,
We sold quite a bit of dog food at that show because the food was fine. It wasn't in any decent
wasn't
bags at
pretty
the
yet. It
time.
wasn't pretty yet.
And you don't
But
want to have to carry all those heavy bags in and out.
No,
now,
exactly.
now the history is though that you and Dave both uh, had been in the dog food industry for many years. I mean, you guys just weren't brand new walking in, hey, we're going to build dog food. You guys
Right.
had been involved in a company and had done that before, right?
Yeah, so I was overseeing kind of the marketing and product management development for another company, and Dave was in the sales and distribution side. So that's where we met, and we both left, and we're probably gone for I don't we a year and a half out of there, and just missed it. Just missed the business. I still had my hunting dogs, and yeah, we got together for a couple of beers on my boat out on the Mississippi River, just floating around there, and like, man, we really miss that business. And we're like, hey, I would, coming up with a genius idea. Well, let's start our own. So, yeah, it was born out of a beautiful sunny day on the river, and within a couple months, I had already had some ideas on what I'd like to do to make it really specific for to get the most out of hunting dogs, because that was really our initial target, was strictly to stick in the hunting market because that's what I have. I got hunting Labrador retrievers, and when you said that tagline, we built it for our dogs, so you love it for yours. I mean, it really was for our dogs. I mean, for my dogs running around here, I wanted something that I could be confident was going to work and make them happy and healthy and go hard in the field. So that's not just a line, it's the truth. And we knew enough guys that, from being in the business, that ran dogs hard, that bred and trained and competed. So we kind of put it together and got it in I think we figured out we were doing it in 24 different locations and in 6 or 7 states, and I think it was like 6 or 7 different breeds of dogs that we did the feeding trials in, and just really got really good results. So we came back and started to expand the formulas a little bit. I think we only tested 2 of them, but the other 2 are the same ingredients, which is kind of our special niche in the dog food world. All of our products have the same ingredients, so you can switch from one to another based on how active your dog is. So we got the other 2 formulas ready to go and fed them for a little bit, and then we showed up at Pheasant Fest with empty bags.
let's uh, let's drill down a little bit on. And I've been with you at a lot of these events, and I've heard you 100 times. I've heard people walk in and walk up to the counter and say, "Okay, tell me what makes your dog food any better than this dog food."
Yeah.
And so, I guess as a place to start, just give us a little if I came in and said, sell me on your product, what makes your product, something that I should be feeding my dog? Obviously, your question is going to be, what kind of dog do I have?
You
How
bet.
are you using your dog? Is it a hunting dog? Is it a companion dog? What kind of activity levels do you see? And you ask all those questions. But when it gets into the recipe and the nuts and bolts of the food, what do our listeners need to know about Kinetic, and what makes Kinetic different than some of the other foods?
Probably the biggest thing that's different, and there's a lot of factors in this, but the biggest thing that's different is it's made for these kind of dogs. Most companies, they make a pet food. They got 50 different formulas, and they're feeding all kinds of dogs. We're not trying to be everything to everybody. So we built our foods from the bottom up to feed very active working sporting dogs. So if you've got a real nice little Shih Tzu at home, sure you love that dog. This is probably not the food for that dog. We everything we do is completely targeted toward the very active, the dog that needs high energy without eating a high volume of food. They need to be able to absorb all the nutrients because they're beating themselves up going out there and working hard every day. So they need to be able to go hard today and get up again tomorrow and not be stiff and sore and go hard again all day tomorrow. So that's, I mean, at a macro level, it's because this food is designed for what we're doing. It's not designed, you got the couch potato dog, again, probably not the right food for you. You're going to have a big old sausage of a dog if they're not active at all. But if you got a dog that's running hard, everything that we do is we use animal ingredients wherever possible because dogs absorb, animal proteins and animal fats better than they do plant-based proteins and fats. So if we could use an animal-based ingredient, that's what we used. If we could use an organic mineral that's much more bioavailable, that's what we used. So it's just built for these kind of dogs. So, and again, everybody will say their dog food's the best. You talk to any company, "Well, here's why ours is the best." Now, there's no food that's going to work for every single dog, not ours or not anybody else's. But for dogs that are dealing with these kind of activity stress, there's not many that are going to do as well or better than ours. It's because that's what we're designed for.
And that's a big thing I look for when I'm feeding my dogs is recovery time and how active they are in the field and with the dogs that, English setters, they go and
Yes, they do.
they don't like to give up and a lot of dogs do and people go, why do you do this? Why are you so important? Why is the dog food so important? And the one thing I always tell them is you don't put pump gas in a race car. And that's kind of like why I do what I do and I've been on the Kinetic for 2 years and I've seen massive results on the dogs and I hunt hard, so it's nice to be
Hmm.
able to just to do what have them do what you think they want to do and not be sore, not be tired, and not get run down.
Right.
I think back when I first started feeding your food, I remember talking to you and saying, we had a discussion about Sweet Lou, who was my old guy back then, though he was in his prime, but I couldn't keep weight on him. I mean, he
Right.
he hunted at such a pace that he just I just could not keep weight on him. Obviously, we were hunting a lot, doing a lot of guiding, and I remember for a short period of time we put him on 32, the jet
Yes.
fuel,
Yeah.
and he, and it kind of like he maintained and actually he started kind of putting a little weight on actually, but it did stop his decline, and started putting weight on him. And then as he got a little older, we obviously got off the jet fuel pretty fast, and then I'd learned more about the food and how to feed it,
Yep.
and I could balance the amounts that I was giving him based on what I was seeing in the dog's condition. And individual dogs, whether they needed a little more or less, depending on body condition. And so, which is another great thing about the food that you might want to mention. And you mentioned the different levels,
Yes.
but 32 being, the top high level protein, and then the 30 and the 26. And so you can go up and down that spectrum as you see fit, and uh, without those problems with the stool and other things that you don't normally see if you switch dog foods. And that kind of how you
R-
guys developed it.
Yeah, right. So I think we're still the only brand in the industry that does this, but all of our foods are made with the exact same ingredients. You just adjust the protein and fat levels up or down depending on the formula. And what that allows you to do is what you just said. You can switch from one formula to another and you don't get digestive upset. You don't get that transitional stress because all you did was slightly increase one or two of the ingredients. So, and we did that by design so that and typically in our world you might be feeding maybe your dogs aren't running as hard in the summer, which a lot of them aren't. You could feed the active formula, the active, and it's 26 protein to 16 fat, and then well, I'm getting close to the season. I need to start ramping it up because they're going to start working hard. We're going to do conditioning, and then they're going to be hunting. So you can move right into the 30K, and you don't have to mix it or blend it or anything like that. You just, when one bag runs out, you move them into the other one, and you don't see any issue. So that's what I'll typically do. It's off season. We've typically traditionally fed the 26, and then when I know it's getting close on hunting season, we start getting them conditioned, move them into the 30, so you don't have to feed more food, which you don't want to be having a dog running out there with extra mass in their stomach anyway. So
Yeah.
you can switch up and not feed anymore, and they're getting more calories. So
That's exactly what I do, and and I and really I don't see any difference in stools, and they still like to eat it. There's some
right.
things you
Well, that's
can
important.
change, and they like to eat it. So, and they don't know the difference. I think the dogs, I could see the energy level change in the kennel when it's either feeding time or time to go air or go out and work a little bit. But I can I can definitely tell when I've switched the foods. And even on the old dogs that don't hunt as much, I still put it on so they get a little winter fat on them, and
Yep.
and I can just tell their energy levels are better, and no, but I have noticed that. So
Well, and I remember Lou, when you first were starting him, he wasn't a dog that was particularly motivated by food anyway. He'd much rather be hunting than eating. So,
Yeah.
it's got to be, you need the energy and the extra calories that it'll hold the weight, but you also better have something that's palatable. So even a dog that maybe doesn't like to eat all that much will. And he was definitely one of those guys. He would run lean. He was a
Yeah.
big running dog.
Yeah. And like I said, uh, he would not dive into the dish, let's just say. But that's kind of typical with a lot of setters. A
Right.
lot of setters are like that. Other than his son, Major, he, he eats
Major's
like
a
a
pretty big boy.
he eats like a lab, man. You better keep your hand back when you put the dish down for that boy. But
I say I got 5 pigs at my
yeah,
place that will eat a
so
whole bag if you
yeah,
put it in front of them.
but
Yeah,
yeah, so
I
it's
love
kind of
that.
interesting.
I love that. You don't have to fight a dog to eat. I mean,
Yes, yes,
we put our dishes down here and it's 30 seconds, everything's gone, and then they'll run around and lick each other's bowls and make sure nobody missed anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's none of that. We've had
yeah,
people come in and we're like, hey, can you go over and feed our dogs? We're doing something or whatever, and like, man, they eat fast. I'm like, well, they are labs. They're kind of a stomach with four legs,
yeah.
is what they
Keep
are.
your get your hand back. Yeah, yeah. It'd be like Adeline. Adeline always goes in the crates to check it out, man, when the dogs are outside to make sure they didn't, drop a kibble here and there. She could clean up,
Well, that
but
was
yeah, it's
interesting with
kind of
Lou. I don't know if you remember that time when I first got my Libby dog, and she's a point in lab. Well, she was going to go out. This was the first time she hunted with these guys, and Lou was running his big circles, running around and covering a lot of ground. And Libby, being a pup, she decided she was going to hunt like Lou for about a half hour. And she's like, "Man, I'm going to get back to my lab roots here and maybe work a little closer." So yeah, she's not a
yeah. He
point.
put on. Yeah, he covered some ground. That's for
He
sure.
did.
But
He was a big running dog.
and of course his daughter, which I have, Duchess, is she hunts the same way. She's man. If I get a GPS thing, I'll probably realize how many miles she puts on. She's a lot like Thomas's dog CJ. They're built a lot alike, and they have the same kind of style, if you will.
Yeah.
Let's clear this field of any bird that's out here. Just watch me, I'll make sure that I get all the points and all the retrieves, and other dogs could just clean up if that's what they want to do.
We noticed
So
that today trying to take pictures
yeah,
and Tweety
yeah.
birds and pigeon cage.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
20 laps around your property was just enough to get her caught up so we could
so
get her to
so
look.
we were talking about some things too. I mean, in the break before you came on, we were talking about some of the things that have over the years, you guys continue to grow, and now you don't have to tell people who you are because people, at least in the hunting world, have heard about you guys, and for the most part, and so it's not so much that, it's how do you get your food distributed into all these different places sometimes where people want it. And I remember being at some of those events with you and Dave, and people would say, I want to buy this food. And you'd go, where do you live? And it'd be someplace in southern Kansas or, central Missouri. And you go, hey,
Yeah.
John, how do we get this guy food? And you would go on there, and try to do, the zip code thing and try to figure out where the closest distributor would be to try to take care of somebody the best you could. And so over the years, though, that distribution thing has obviously grown and improved, and I know you guys now are in some other stores, and we talked about Tractor Supply, which is I think one of your newer
Yeah.
stores that you guys have got into. What's the story with that?
That's big. So we've been working with Tractor Supply for probably 2.5 years, but it was all online. And for years we've had a really good, robust online business, and some retail, but not as much as we'd like. And within the last couple of months, Tractor Supply put us in, and we're now in about 450 of their stores. So yeah, we have a much broader retail footprint than we have traditionally, and that's going to continue to grow. But they're great stores. They're the kind of stores we um, like a lot of our traditional stores. We're in the Tysons and some big R's and running stores. What's nice about it is I mean, they're the kind of places we like to shop. You can go get some boots and some shotgun shells and grab your dog food all at the same time. Um, but they gave us the opportunity to really get a national footprint overnight, and that's been a tremendous benefit to us. And I mean, we look at it every week. The sales grow and new stores get added each week. So it's really been a great opportunity for us to be able to get closer to people. Because the one thing about online, or I mean, I love the online business, and like when COVID hit a couple years ago, everybody, the first couple weeks, everybody said, "Well, I'm not going out. We're going to order online." Well, guess what? Online wasn't used to that much volume, so they got wiped out. Inventories got wiped out after about 2 weeks, and then people were kind of coming back around to the idea, you know what? I need a local supply for a lot of my stuff, not just dog food, but anything you needed to buy. So there's a benefit to online's going to continue to grow, but you really still need those local retail partners that can help you, that'll stock some. So in a pinch, you can get it. If your shipment gets delayed from ordering online, well, you can run right down to a Tyson's or a Tractor Supply or a Runnings or something like that, and grab you a bag or two. So that's uh that's typically what we'll try to do and support local stores and keep them going. But Tractor Supply was definitely a recent one for us. It's a really big news.
So before obviously the supply chain problems that have happened, but that hasn't really affected you guys as much as some of the other companies, as I understand it.
Well, we've been fortunate. We've got a really good manufacturing setup, and trucking hit everybody. I don't care what industry you're in. So trucking has hit everything. It's thrown a couple curveballs at us, getting packaging and occasionally getting product delivered. But for the most part, having our product here made here in the Midwest and shipped heavily into a lot of Midwestern distribution centers, we really haven't gotten hit. Like, I've walked into some of these stores, and 30% of their shelves are empty. We've had some minor delays here and there, but never really any major problems. And we've been shipping throughout, and we're shipping like crazy right now, and our lead times are good, and fill rates are excellent. So yeah, if anybody wants Kinetic, give me a holler. We'll figure out a way to get it to you.
Well, and that's probably important too for you guys because I know that a lot of you're feeding a lot of military dogs
Yeah.
and law enforcement dogs, so it's important that those dogs, don't lose their supply. I mean, that's got to be critical.
Yeah, and really nobody wants to switch their dog's food if they don't have to, because the stressors that it causes. But yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up. We talked about, we really started in the hunting world, and that's because that's where I'm living. We're here in Iowa, where the pheasant are, and I got bird dogs, but we really got heavily into after a couple years. We really started to get heavily into that protection dog world. So yeah, probably our biggest segments by far are the hunting dogs and the working police military dogs. We ship a bunch of those, and it's important to those guys not only to buy American, which we are, but also yeah, you can't run out of stock. And we've picked up a lot of business this year because a lot of the big brands were struggling with that, and prices went crazy, and everybody's got a budget they have to work with. So yeah, that's been a big windfall for us this year. We've been able to keep our prices modest, even with rising cost situations, and we're actually filling orders. So a lot of people were delaying orders and maybe not shipping for 3 4 months. Well, you got to feed your dogs, so having an opportunity to jump in there and say, hey, we're filling orders. We're not gonna run you out of food, and give us a chance. And usually if we get a chance, if somebody gives our food a chance and feeds it to their dogs, we got a pretty high success rate of converting them over, and we're able to ship the product and keep them in food.
And that's a big thing. If you can throw, put some food down for a dog and really test it and give it a chance. Um, I was on the same food for 15 years, and and you know, your guys' affordability and being able to get it was a big thing for me. And I know when I talked to Wade when I did switch, he gave me your number, and you're a busy guy, and you did take the time to talk to me, and you got me in touch with somebody right away to say, hey, this guy can get it to you. He's a distributor, and it was perfect. And it's nice that I come down to Wade's compound and Will's compound, and I can grab my food. Actually, Wade actually picks it up for me, so it is another win-win. He can grab it for me because I can't get down here before business is up and get it home. And that's one big thing is, even though it's good food, the affordability.
He
And when
kind of
you're
takes
feeding,
takes advantage of an old retired guy
well,
every now and
that's
then, picking up his
Well, you're
dog
not
food
doing
for
anything
him.
else,
yeah,
Wade. Come
you're
on.
done painting the house, so you have no more excuses.
I
Um,
guess.
but
I
no,
guess.
that was a big thing for me,
Yeah.
and and we'd had that discussion that, I mean, there's bags of dog food that are $75 right now,
Yeah,
and this is
yeah,
when you're
What?
feeding 6 dogs, that can really, like me, it can
Yeah.
really knock the checkbook down pretty fast. It kind of takes away from the hunting trips and maybe a new gun once in a while, but it's a outstanding food for an affordable
And
price.
I always liked your approach, you and Dave. When we would be places and people would ask about the food, and and you never really tried to, you never put anybody else's food down. That's what I always picked up. You would say, "What are you feeding now?" And you've always said that if you're feeding something and it's working for you, fine.
yeah,
Stay with it. I mean, we're not trying to. There's some other good foods out there, but if you are having issues or you're having a problem or you're wanting to switch, give us a try. And I always like that approach because there's some other companies out there that kind of like to bash the other guy, and I always thought that was the way you were doing your marketing was a very positive way to really, and I think a lot of people were surprised by that. When they'd walk up and say, okay, this guy's going to, try to sell me that his food's better than anybody else's. And, what am I, I'm feeding this, and he's going to try to tell me that his food's better for these reasons. And John would really just kind of say, well, if it's working for you, great, stay with it. That's some good
yeah,
food that you're feeding. And I always like that approach.
yeah. There are some other good foods out there, and I I still believe that. Like I said earlier, there's no food that works for every dog. If you've got a dog, especially if it's a dog that's had some challenges in the past, and you found a program, a feeding program that works, ours may work, but certainly if my dog has struggled in the past and I found something that worked really well, I'd be reluctant to change it. So there are some really good foods out there. There are some foods that are, they're not made to the same standard. They're less expensive, and there's people out there for every level of food. There's some people that just aren't going to spend money on a real high end food, and there's people that'll spend whatever it takes to get the best performance out of their dog. So
Right.
for that lower price tier person, we're probably not going to be an option. But if you want to, as far as getting getting the premium, super performance out of a dog for a modest price tag, that's really kind of where we fit in. We're definitely not the top of the market. There's dog food bags out there for 100, $120 for a 25-pound bag. So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
we're not going to get there. And honestly, knowing what ingredients cost and works really well for these dogs, you, that's got to be marketing. I mean, you're not going to make these dogs run better on anything, any dry dog food that has to cost that much. It's if we thought we could get better performance out of a dog by spending, by putting more dollars in the bag, we'd be doing it. Because like I said, it's my dogs too, and
Right, right.
I want them to be as healthy as they can possibly be and be able to go out there and hunt and run. And even when we're not hunting, Jolene, my wife, decided we weren't, spending enough of our disposable income on dog stuff, so she started them doing dock jumping this summer too. So they got to stay in shape year round. So
There you go.
we got out and started jumping them into pools for exorbitant amounts of money.
I did that for a while. I
That's
did.
fun.
It is. It's fun. Actually, I had two qualified for the nationals, but I didn't want to drive halfway across the country to do it.
I
You
bet
know,
that
but
little dog, I bet CJ could jump
she's
a
not.
mile.
If you put the plastic pool out in the airing yard, she
Yeah.
will jump into that. But
Hmm.
that's it. That's all we got for the jumping in the water for her.
Well, yeah, and
So
that big pool, I mean, it's clear water, so these dogs are going up there and jumping off a dock. It's not a huge, it's not a big height. It's only a couple feet up there, but
mhm.
it's clear water, so it looks like it's a bigger drop off than it is. And one of my dogs, I got two dogs, they're litter mates, and just you know every dog is different. I say that all the time. And these girls are out of two females, same litter, been raised the exact same genetics. One of them went up there and has just no regard for height, distance, water. She goes up there and runs like her tail's on fire, jumps as far as she can. I mean, she was her first competition. She was jumping in the 20s. Her sister went up, jumped off once, said, this isn't my game. I'm just not that interested in that. She'll go out and paddle around and swim and have a good time and smile and wag, but she's not in it for that. So
You got to have a crowd favorite too. You got to have the one that goes up to the
Now,
people in the splash zone
yeah,
and they can pet
yeah.
it and
Now,
she is that,
Ian
yes.
Donovan would say that you need to show the dog what you want them to do. So maybe you need to get up on the dock.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know Ian well. He says a lot of things.
I had
No,
a
Ian.
bet. I had a bet when I did it, and they said if you win this final, you have to jump in the pool. And I said I would, but luckily I didn't win because I didn't have to jump in the pool because it was not a very nice day out.
so
Well,
you
I'm an
guys,
idiot. I was in the pool trying to coax the other one, seeing if she'd get comfortable jumping in. So I'm down there in my swim trunks, at the practice session. But she doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
She's a perfectly happy dog. She's a good hunting dog, but she doesn't want to go swimming or to go jumping off the dock. All right, well, that's not really what I got you for anyway. So
you know
if
that
it's
was
not fun,
that
stop.
was that's probably I've done a lot of different dog trials. I've done you know field trials with labs. I've done coon hunting trials, squirrel dog trials. All these that might be the funnest group of competitive dog stuff. Like just the whole everybody that goes to these. It's not like you stare at the other guy and
it's not cutthroat.
it's not cutthroat and it's just
No,
it's
it
it's a
isn't.
great it's a fun atmosphere and it is enjoyable.
And a lot of our people, a lot of that are our pro staff. There's a tremendous number of them that just do that just to keep the dog in shape, keep kind of that competitive edge in the off season, and the dogs seem to have a ball with it.
Hmm.
You know, they they just they go nuts. I know. I'd say probably at least 7 or 8 of our pro staff who are primarily hunting people and have hunting breeds. Well, they've got dogs doing that all summer long, and most of them at a really high level. I mean, I know with the NADD, we had 3 or 4 of them that had dogs at nationals here last week. So I think it was last week or the week before. So yeah, well, I mean, these dogs are tremendous athletes and they're incredibly fit. So all they've done is take that drive, transfer it over to something else, and they're jumping at a really high level. I mean, I know, and it's a variety of breeds. It's labs, short hairs, some pointers. We got some whippets out there and some mals. There's a little bit of everything, but Yeah, we were Seth Lospike, our pro staff guy up in North Dakota. I think he had last year or this year the number one big air Labrador Retriever in the world, and then we had several short hair people down with, and he's with Doc Dogs, but we had several short hair people with NADD. They all placed in the top 3 or 4 in the country with their German short hair. So yeah, any dog can do it. We're feeding dogs anything from a 150-pound Saint Bernard to a 3.5-pound Terrier breed, all jumping in these competitions. So that's the cool thing. You don't have to have a dog that's a hunting dog to do this, or even a special dog. Just any dog that's willing to do it and have fun.
I
So
doubt
it's
they
pretty
get
cool.
many setters.
I don't know.
I
I
never.
have not.
They,
That is a breed I have not seen.
yeah,
I don't know if I've
they're
seen
not
any
a lot
setters.
for
Not,
water. They're not
no,
a whole lot. They're not a big water dog.
no.
But you
Okay.
guys, besides the doc dogs and there are some other special things that you guys are working doing, like the Canine and Leash program and everything like that. So if you kind of want to explain that a little bit too.
Yeah, so so we thought, hey, we're not really pulling our own hair out enough to come up with a dog food company. Why not start a TV show too? So so yeah,
You should have known better.
it's I should have watched you and learned, Wade, but
Yeah.
I'm not that sharp. So but yeah, so a couple years ago, Carl, who's our media director and does all the filming and production of our TV show, he was watching all this stuff where, and he's like, "Hey, there's a TV show in this." And Dave and I are like, "Oh, come on, first of all, look at us, we shouldn't be on TV." And he said, "No, no, not you, the dogs." So I'm like, "Okay, well, I can live with that." So yeah, we just finished our second season of Unleashed Canine TV, and it's a little bit of all that stuff we're doing. So it's a lot of police dog, military dogs, variety of different hunting disciplines. uh, got some doc dog stuff in there. I think some of our real cool. We had probably our most watched episode was Secret Service dog, Canine Hurricane and Marshall, and the Coonhound episode did really well. Had one where another good one was the casino dogs, and that's something I didn't realize until we really started getting into that detection protection dog. Casinos have a lot of dogs. I mean, you go out to Las Vegas, there's a lot of dogs running around those things, and they're looking for. I'm sure it's mostly drug and explosive, but there's a lot of dogs running around out there. So we're shipping a lot of dog food to Las Vegas, and we've done some training stuff with the International Casino and Resort Working Dog Association. They've been really generous with their time and letting us get on with them, and the cool thing and the whole thing of that show is there are all kinds of really amazing things that dogs are doing out there that a lot of people just aren't even aware of. So the whole purpose of that show is just to see the cool things dogs are doing and the bond between the dog and their handler or their owner or whatever the role is. And that's what people connect to. We all love our dogs, and just are amazed by some of the things that they do. How smart they are, how intuitive they are, and just how hard they'll work to accomplish whatever it is you're looking for them to accomplish. And in some cases, you mentioned, and I know you've had Ian on a couple times. There's dogs that are saving lives. I mean, when it comes down to what those guys do in the special forces, and even the police dogs, that dog, if it runs out of energy, or it isn't in fight and trim, somebody's hurt or killed. So it gets pretty serious, and Dave will always say this, our dogs get tired, we can go put the guns away and crack a beer, but these guys don't have that option. So your food better be up to standard, and it better be ready to support whatever mission these dogs are trying to complete. And man, it changes your view on things when Ian is one when he's been deployed. We know when he's over there. We don't know where he is exactly necessarily, but we know he's over there, and it's like having one of your kids in harm's way. You're anxious. You're trying to stay in touch and anxious for when they're going to come back. So it's definitely a labor of love what we do, and not just for the dogs, but for the great people that we've been able to meet, as part of our journey. And Wade, you and I, but we've had all kinds of experiences out there, and you talked a little bit about old Lou and my Sophie dog that was very similar age, and we've hunted with some of our best dogs, and seen some more come along, the younger generation moving up. Yeah, it's been fun.
We've done some guiding and some major guiding.
Yeah, even some celebrity guiding. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll tell a funny John story. We were guiding together, and we did that for several years for an event, Amy for a Cure event. And it was 2 long days. I mean, it was
yes,
humping. It was humping, and the dogs were working hard, and you'd have 5 or 6 guys in the field blasting away at birds, and so our job was not to get shot, keep the dogs safe, and carry tons of birds,
and all birds.
and and of course, John being the young man in the group, is carry them birds. Go to get them birds over there, John. Your knees are better than mine. And so I look over and John's got this sack. He's got about
I look
10
like
birds.
Santa coming down the
Yeah,
chimney.
he's got about 10 birds sticking out, and all different sizes and all different sides. And yeah, and then day 2, that particular evening, he apparently had celebrated. He was up a little too late, and we had to guide
Yeah,
the next morning early. And yeah, he wasn't quite as chipper the next day. He didn't want to carry as
no,
many birds the next day for
and
some
I needed
reason.
lots
I
of
don't.
water. Lots of water.
Lots of water. Hydrate.
That was my first. That was my first event guiding. I learned a valuable lesson then. There's a big difference between guiding and running a sporting clay stand section of their station. So yeah, and I know we did GPS. I know one time, Wade, when we were hunting, we GPS, and we figured out in a half day, just a half day hunt, we did anywhere from 7 to 10 miles, and the dogs did about 50.
Yeah,
So
it was pretty. It was long. It was long.
you can look you can look like us and still hunt for a half a day. The dog's got to be in better shape.
I think he did that a couple years, if I remember. And then I think year 3, John decided that he would help make sandwiches or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
something, anything. No,
I'll,
my old
I'll,
body.
I'll tell people where the park out there with on them with those flashlights. How to who's the smart guy. But we had lots of fun.
Oh,
It's
we had
Fun
a ton of
watching the
fun.
dogs.
they get heavy. I just did that the other day, and I hadn't done that. And you don't have to be old to feel that, because I think I had, when I got done, I had 14 birds I pulled out of my
Oh
bag.
yeah.
And I was
Well,
like, oh, I can breathe.
See, I'm never going to carry that
walk-
many. I might carry 4 or 5, but I get past that, and it's like I get kind of sad looking eyes, and then that guy that's just shot that bird, and he's going, man, this old dude's gonna have to carry. Hey,
yeah. Can you pick that up?
yeah, I can carry that bird for you. Well, how about 2 or 3? I'll take out of the sack, and you
Oh,
carry
while
them
you're
too.
at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Is Kinetic developing any kind of elderly gentleman formula?
There we go. Do you have a
Maybe I should
supplement
start
for
eating that
bad
kibble
knees?
myself. But
You
yeah,
know,
we've had a lot of. But that was part of it, and that's part of the hunting world that we're connected to, Thomas and myself and you guys. You those relationships that you build, and through things that have happened in the field. I mean, all those stories and things that have happened that we've had fun doing, and some of the things we don't talk about, but but it was got tons of fun. And then probably one of the coldest days in the face of the earth in Illinois, you and I
oh
went
yeah.
over and tried to kill this little bird they call a bobwhite quail. You
I
remember
will
that?
say we saw probably 40 of them. We got 2, and I got both of them. Now,
Well, yeah,
Ooh.
that's true. That's true. That's true.
that-
I don't.
I
I'm not
probably
sure how
shot
that.
more at them.
I'm not sure how that happened, but
Well, I think 'cause one of them was just sheer surprise. We got to the end of a run, and it was
yeah.
cold. I think when we walked out that day, it was probably 5 below with a little brisk breeze, and it was chilly. So I was walking. We were all walking, just kind of trying to get warmed up. And when we got to the end of the first field there, we stopped and we're chatting a little bit. And my old Sophie dog I was talking about, she just kept moving. There was just a few trees there, so she went over and she got nosy, and all of a sudden some birds flew out. And over here, I'm in eastern Iowa, even further east than you guys. I haven't seen quail around here in really decades. So even seeing a quail wild in the field was a shock to me. But I looked over there, I'm like, hey, those are quail. So I just popped a couple shots and managed to get one of them. But yeah, I forgot how quick those things are. They
Oh
move right
my.
along.
Especially on a cold day when everything's cold and you're trying to, yeah, it's,
It was
you got to
cold.
be, yeah, it's a pretty challenging day. We did see a lot of birds over there. They had they had a field over there, if you recall, that we hunted, QUGA, sponsored the event, but it was one of their members. What was that? 100-acre field.
Oh, it was
That
beautiful.
thing was manicured into a bird paradise, and they had it all sectioned off into like 40, kind of like, what was it, about 50 feet wide, kind of them strips, or I mean,
Yeah,
they
then
were,
they had some mow strips down there, so
yeah. I mean,
us
that
old
thing was,
fat guys,
oh
we
my
could
gosh,
we could
that
walk
was that
well.
was custom made for me right there. Those old guys that the old golfers, that designed the ultimate golf course. If
That
I
was it.
designed the ultimate upland hunting thing, that would be it. It was just perfect because you, you know, one could be on one side and you could be on the other strip walking, and the dogs working in between us in those different kinds of cover, grass cover, and then they had food plots, and then they had cedar trees down the middle, and it was crazy. I never saw so many birds in my life coming out
It
of
was
there.
beautiful, yeah. And well, your sons were out there with us, and at one
Yeah,
point I'm walking near them, and boy, they're walking really fast, and I'm like, and actually I think you got that. We were filming that day. You guys were filming, and I think you got that on film. I'm like, hey, we're moving a little quick. Let's slow down a little bit. And this is the old guy versus the young guy, and like we got some veteran dogs out here. Sweet Lou was out there, and Adeline and Sophie, and I was like, let's work at the dog's pace. And it wasn't 5 seconds after I said that he had, I think it was Travis, had just stepped past a bird. One popped up, a big rooster popped up right behind him. Like that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah.
Let's work at the pace of the dogs, and they'll find the birds. We got some good dog flesh out here. They'll find them.
Yeah, it was that's a pretty cool episode. If anybody gets a chance to look at that, I don't remember what number it is. I think it was one of the early ones that we did. Will would probably know, but I want to say it was 3 or 4 or 5 in there somewhere. It was that first season, but I
Totally
just,
not looking it up right now myself.
There you
but I
go. Well, and
remember.
he had the drone out there.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember the
yeah.
episode. I don't remember the number
Oh
though,
my
but
gosh, it was
I
cold.
was I was
Yeah,
pretty jealous watching that episode. That looked like a great.
the first field that was when it was really, really cold. And it ended up warming up. It probably got up to about 8 or 9, 10, maybe even 10 degrees
I
by
just remember being in that hotel the night before, thinking, "Oh my goodness, I don't
yeah.
know if this was a smart idea or not." Of course, think we had 4 crates inside the room. It was so you couldn't. It was too cold to have dogs outside. I mean, you couldn't
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. No, I had the
So we
dog
had,
box, but
yeah. Try sleeping with somebody that snores, and then have 4 dogs that are in crates in the same room. Try that for. And my son Travis would say, "It was you that was snoring." Yeah, so try that on, and then in the first crack of dawn, take 4 dogs out through the hotel and back to do their business. So it was quite a day, but
yeah,
we
it
had
was chilly.
great fun though. Those are
A
the things.
beautiful hunt.
Those are the
Yeah.
things the stories are made of. Those kinds of events, and the fact that you got the quail, and you keep bringing that up every time I see you.
Well,
Obviously that's one of those. That's one of those memories that I got the only quail.
well,
So,
I shot 2 quail. I probably missed 10 quail. So,
but
but shells were
yeah,
cheap back then, Wade.
but there
Shells
was
were
a lot
cheap.
of quail there. We saw more quail that day than I had seen in years. So it was
Yeah.
pretty
Oh yeah.
pretty cool that the work that they're doing over there is certainly having an effect on their quail populations. And we don't see that in Iowa unless you get down kind of on the southern tier. You might get into some quail down that way, but
Season 1,
a lot of
episode
fun.
6, by the
There you
way.
go, season
There
1,
you go. There
episode
you
6.
go.
Everybody, check that out. You can see John here holding up his quail, saying, "Look what I got, boys!"
Yeah.
And in fact, probably I think we've got drone coverage of it. I think there's a shot
Yes.
in there of Will was flying the drone, and I don't know that at the time that we saw it, but in reviewing the footage, you can actually see this covey moving on the ground, and then the drone actually makes him flush. He was flying
Oh,
pretty
really?
low. Well, he was trying to get a shot of us coming through the field or whatever, that shot that he gets. And what he did was this covey of quail got spooked by the sound of the drone buzzing above us, and it had to be a 35 bird covey shot out of the corner of the field, and nobody got a shot at those because there wasn't any hunters nearby. But when you look at it in the footage, it's pretty cool to see them on the ground.
Yeah,
like
they were.
that. But
I hadn't seen wild quail in such a long time. It was surprising, but really, really amazing when they started getting up. Well,
So when
I
we
actually I
go
hit
ahead.
out opener last weekend. I was telling you guys a little bit about it, but we went up there north of Tipton, and he said that the DNR officer said they've got some quail up there in those grounds. No, we didn't see any,
really, wow,
but yeah, I'm gonna have to pop back up there and check it out because I mean you don't even there's no pheasant even over here by us. There's just no habitat, so
yeah.
we got to head west and find
Yeah,
some
Thomas and
some
I were talking
ground.
about trying to make a quail trip somewhere. That's fun. That's great fun. I'm too slow to have much effect on them these days, but still, it's still fun to see a 30 or 40 birds blow out
Oh yeah,
in a flush, and
yeah.
I
No,
still get a pretty good adrenaline rush from
You
that.
you
So
can carry the birds. Tell you
yeah.
what.
I could carry four
Then
or
Or
he
you
five
can
can
of
carry.
those.
block.
I
You
could
can
carry
block.
I could carry 4 or 5 of those quail if you wanted me
Yeah,
to. Yeah, I could do that.
You know
So
what?
stick.
Our guide meeting, Ryan had told us that he was starting to get quail down at Highland,
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's
and he
awesome.
says, "Do
do
make
not shoot.
sure you tell them not to shoot."
Yeah, don't shoot those.
So the other day when we were waiting for the 8 o'clock time limit to get out in the field, I could actually hear quail whistling on Ryan's property
Wow.
or around it. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
so I text Ryan. I said, "Hey, I hear quail," and he had actually said that they had like a larger covey in one of the fields the
Yeah.
day before that they had pointed and moved on. So, it's nice to see that they're coming back in Iowa. I doubt they'll ever get any, north of Highway 20 where I'm at, but it would be, yeah, I think it'd be something fun and just to not have to
Yeah.
drive
Kind of.
to a far away land to go hunt them.
Well, it's kind of like the pheasants a number of years ago. We kind of took it for granted we'd always have pheasants, and they kind of declined there over those years where we thought that they were never going to come back. And growing up, we did the same thing with quail hunting down in Missouri. We just thought
Hmm.
they were always going to be there, and then when the numbers declined as well down there, and they had some bad weather and some drought. I think their numbers are back up again, pretty decent. But again, it's one of those things we always thought they'd be there. They always were growing up. You always had 3 or 4 or 5 coveys that you could find on a certain piece of ground, but yeah, not so much anymore. But hopefully they will. Hopefully you can keep people from shooting them down there. That's always been a kind of a challenge he's had. Is not, don't be shooting my quail. And I hope everybody gets the message because they're fun to watch. They're fun to point, fun to see a young dog work those. They can work those pretty good, and it's fun to do.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
to holler Chucker a couple times because the guys didn't pull their guns up fast enough. And, oh, that was a quail. I said, "I'll tell you if it's a quail. I'll yell,
Yeah,
don't shoot." But,
yeah.
Well, those
you know,
chuck are
toward
pretty quick too.
yeah,
Yes,
those
they
are pretty
are.
quick too. I've had my challenges with them as well with coming out of the barrel. But at the end of the show, John, we always ask, "What is your favorite dog story?" It could be, I mean, it doesn't have to be your hunting dog. It could be a buddy's dog. Just something that when you go to tell stories when you're done hunting and cracking a beer and you know talking your dogs up. What's the one that always comes to mind?
Probably my favorite, and I was talked about her a couple times. My Sophie dog. She was my first bird dog as an adult Labrador, and we actually just got her to be really to play with my son. He was pretty young then at that point. My son Nate. Um, she started to show some real good hunt drive, and the first time I took her out, didn't know what kind of a dog she was going to be, but I knew she retrieved and was always hunting on her own. But I hit a bird, and of course, like we always do, we don't always hit them clean. But this bird, and it was actually out at Highland. This bird got down and went all the way down the creek, and I didn't know that it was down the creek. I just saw her go over the hill after the bird, and the bird probably walked 200 yards down the creek. And this dog, her first hunt, not only marked the bird, followed that trail down to the creek, tracked it about 200 yards down the creek, picked it up. By this time, I caught up to her, saw her grab it up, shook it, broke its neck, brought her right back to me. I mean, I'm like, hey, I might have something here in this dog. So that really, for me, I had never hunted behind my own dog, and she was my very first. And that really that kind of opened it up. I'm like, boy, I might have something here. So it just showed you what the dog can do, and I lost her a few years ago, and it's just that you always have that one dog, and then you'll have others after that that you'll love and enjoy. But that one, her being my first and being such a good dog, that's probably my strongest memory. And other than that, we were out there one day, and I was with my son, was very young, and his buddy, who was also very young at the time. Probably the worst day I've ever hunted out of Highland. Freezing rain and sleet, and just three of us and that one dog, and we were the only ones left out there. And when I came back in, Ryan said, "Oh, I wonder if you guys are coming back. Something happened because there's nobody else out in the fields." But she was hunting in the nastiest, windy, sleety, rainy, snowy crap, and we had a great hunt. I mean, we just had a really nice hunt with just that one dog. She was finding anything we could get close to. So that probably for me sums it up.
Yeah, and that's I don't think I'd ever pick up another shotgun if I didn't have a dog to follow around on the field, and those memories that those dogs make. And even
Yep.
like I told you earlier before we even started the show, my favorite time to hunt is when it's just
Yeah,
crappy
nasty.
like that, because you can just watch that dog like just do what it's in their brain, what they want to do, and really figure out them difficult birds and difficult situations. And it's we as hunters and dog owners have to put those dogs in those situations. It's not any fun, but we have to put them in them situations to make them better.
Yep.
So yeah, and appreciate you coming on the podcast, and appreciate everything Kinetic's doing for the dogs, and especially the dogs, and your passion to do that. And then with the military and the police, that is huge and huge on our mind, and we're big supporters of it as well. So
Yeah. So everybody out there, be sure to check out Unleashed TV show, the Canines, Kinetics Canine Show. That's it's on many different platforms, I think, isn't it, John?
Yeah, so our broadcast is on Pursuit Channel. It runs January through the end of June, although they'll still show it some in third and fourth quarter. But in addition to that, you can find it on our YouTube channel. You can find it we got a channel on Roku. We got a channel on Fire TV. So yeah, it's all over the place out there. You can go out and see us. I'm sure we got some of on there where we're missing shots, but it's not just hunting; it's a little bit of everything. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah,
It's
check out
it's
Setter
fun.
Tales, the old some of the Setter Tales episodes. John's in a few of those, and you get to see John and his quail, of course. But
Yeah,
there
I'm
was a
the eye candy.
couple other episodes that he got into as well, which was kind of one of the cool things because he never made it to Ireland. Dave took that trip, but other than that, if it was cold, John was there. If it was brutally cold, John was there. So
Yeah,
and we appreciate that. And John, it's been fun seeing you, talking to you. We always have a great time reminiscing and talking about what's happening in your world with your company. It sounds like things are growing and doing great, and
yeah,
we look forward to catching you on the trail here soon. I believe you're going to be in Iowa here at the 1st of December.
yeah. We'll
I
be
think
hunting.
we're going to
We'll get in the
be
field together.
I
Yeah,
think we're going to be doing a little. We're going to try to do a podcast down there as well. That's what we're working on. A little live. I don't know if we want to do a live podcast with
I
these
think we
guys. I
have
don't know.
to. I
Yeah,
started
think
I don't know.
early. Started early.
Yeah,
I think we could start with maybe a cooking seminar
cooking.
from have Dave maybe make his chowder or something like that, and at the beginning, and wear his nice hat and
Let's
his
get him to do the Szechuan pheasant. Yeah, I
There
mean,
you go.
oh, there we
he
go.
does a really nice
Yes.
Szechuan
Yeah.
pheasant. It's delicious.
Yeah, it is. He was at the Heroes Hunt and he made that down there, and it was
The chowder's
It was
great. I mean, the
yeah,
chowder's
yes,
chowder too.
fantastic.
it
That's
was
what
awesome.
he had down there. It was awesome. But anyway, John, good to see you. We appreciate your time coming on and talking about what you guys are doing and some of the things you're going to do in the future. And we appreciate you guys supporting us, getting
Yeah.
behind the podcast, and we're going to be doing some things together to hopefully draw our numbers and build our audience. And we're like I said, we've been working on some things with you in that regard, and hopefully by the first of next year, we'll see some numbers grow, and we'll try to get our message out there and let people know what the upland world is all about and how to why we do what we do.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of
Yeah,
one of those
well,
things. I've often had people say, "Why do you do what you do?" Well, that's kind of why we did the video series, and probably why you're doing the show that you guys are doing. Is some people don't realize what it's like, what it's like to be behind a dog in the field until they do it. So we appreciate that. And like I said, take care.
all right, gentlemen. Hopefully, we'll see you in the field here very soon.
Yeah. See you soon.
And for everybody else, like I said, we appreciate your support. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Do all that stuff. What's all that? All that media stuff. You know what it is.
Facebook,
Yeah.
YouTube. Give us a like. Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Hit that little bell on the YouTube.
Yeah.
That way it gives you a notification of when we're having a new episode.
Leave us a review.
Yes, please.
That's very important to leave us a review. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Well,
We like positive
hopefully you like
reviews.
everything. Hopefully you like everything. But yeah, that's a big part of it. And to keep this thing going, we obviously wanted some feedback. But it makes it easier to keep doing this, as Thomas knows, if we know people like it. If we're doing something that people are enjoying, that gives us an incentive to keep producing the show. So,
And if anybody
Help
has
us
any
out.
topics we'd like to hit, I'd like to talk maybe sometime here on some dog training tips of things I've seen in the field and things I've helped correct with my own dogs and some fellow dogs and friends' dogs. And I just kind of fixed one over the phone last night and already got a review, gave him some ideas. And so we'd like to do that. And anything we can do to help you guys out, as well as being better dog handlers. And we got the nutrition and the health thing down, so let's kind of move into some of the hunting stuff. So be sure to subscribe, and we'll be back next week.
we will
So-
see you next time.
Keep their nose in the wind.